for 2025. So,
Whoop, whoop,
yay.
whoop, whoop.
Now I'd like to ask everybody to mute themselves and turn off your camera so that we can all get a nice clear view of Jennifer and our host with the most, Penny Manson. So take it away, Penny.
Okay. So, welcome and happy holiday to you all. And tonight, I am delighted to interview our past president, Jennifer Morita, about her debut novel, Ghost of Waikīkī, which was released by Crooked Lane Books on November 19th. A little background. After the newspaper she works for folds and freelance assignments no longer pays the bill, Myra Wong reluctantly returns to her native Hawaii to ghostwrite controversial land developer Parker Hamilton's biography. But when the Hamilton patriarch is found dead under suspicious circumstances, Myra is Maya, right?
Maya. Hmm.
Maya. Maya is unwittingly drawn into the investigation. Maya's family and friends aren't happy about her work for Hamilton. And now, with her ex, Detective Koa
Hmm.
Yamada,
Yeah.
on the case, she's forced to contend with the very person she was determined to avoid. All too soon, Maya is dodging assailants and digging for clues while juggling girls' nights out with her old best friends forever and weekly family dinners. Convinced the police are after the wrong man, Maya is determined to stop the killer before it's too late. Exploring timely issues in Hawaii, including locals getting priced out of paradise, Ghost of Waikiki is an engrossing atmospheric mystery in the vein of Jane Peck's The Verifiers. Jennifer is a former newspaper reporter who juggled freelance jobs with being a stay at home mom for several years before becoming a writer for the communication department at a local university. She spent the first 6 months of the pandemic purging and baking with the rest of the world before giving her lifelong pipe dream of being a mystery author a chance. She wrote while the California wildfires burned and her kids zoomed through school, figuring she had nothing to lose, not even time. Her short story, Cranes in the Cemetery, was published in the Capital Crimes 2021 anthology, Cemetery Plots of Northern California. She was a runner up for the Sisters in Crime Eleanor Taylor Bland Award in 2022. Eleanor. Jennifer is the past president of our local Sisters in Crime chapter, Capital Crimes, and is a member of Crime Writers of Color,
I can't. I don't know.
Mystery Writers of America, and International Thriller Writers. When she isn't writing, reading, or pushing Girl Scout cookies, she enjoys watching British mysteries, cooking, and baking. Aside from leisurely hikes with her family, Zumba and hot hula are the only forms of exercise she willingly participates in. Jennifer lives in California with her husband and two daughters. Thank you for joining us tonight and being the subject of our Meet the Author, Jennifer. We're glad you're here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, I have been waiting for this, you guys. I wanted to interview Jennifer when her book got published very much because I knew, she when she was our president, we knew the book was coming and it was coming and so now here it is. I mean, I it feels like it was just yesterday we were talking and I said, you got an agent, your book's gonna be published, and now here it is. You unpacked it, you did the reveal. How was it was it as exciting to unpack that first box of your books as every author who wants to be where you are now dreams about being?
Oh, okay. Was it as exciting? Was that the question?
The question was it as exciting opening that box of books?
Yeah, it was. It was. It's a little terrifying though too. Just because I've been working so long for this, and I kept in the back of my mind, I kept thinking, what if there's a mistake on the first page that I didn't catch, or little things like that. But yeah, it was really exciting. I feel like it's been a really long time coming, but
Well, let's find out a little bit about Jennifer before we dive into the book, okay? So, where were you born? Were you born in Hawaii?
No, I was born in Reno, Nevada. Very exciting.
So you were close to here to begin with.
Yeah, yeah. My parents are both from the Bay Area, but my dad had a job with the federal government, so we moved around a lot while I was growing up.
Okay. Siblings.
I do. I have one sister. She's younger. She's about 4.5 years younger than me. She lives in San Diego. She's an architect.
Oh,
We're
okay.
very
So
different.
because so she's not a writer too. You're the only
She's not a
writer.
writer, no.
Okay. Your favorite pet growing up.
Oh, that would be Rascal, and he was a rat. He was actually my sister's pet. We didn't have that many pets when we were kids. I think because we moved around a lot. So when my sister was in elementary school and we were living here in California, um, her friend gave her a pet rat, and he was a really sweet rat. He would like nestle by your neck, and he basically roamed free in her bedroom.
Oh,
He
so
was
when we
really
were
sweet.
talking last month with Lori Ham, because
Yeah,
she
we
features
were
rats.
talking about rats. Yeah.
Yes, she features rats in her book, and she said they're like a cat but more affectionate.
Yes, Rascal was very affectionate. The downside with rats, though, is they have very short lives. It was like 2 or 3 years, I think. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
oh, oh,
And so then
oh.
after that, after Rascal died, my sister was so devastated that we managed to get my mom to get a dog.
They last a little longer than rats do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
just a little bit longer. Okay, so all right. So what role did your parents play in you becoming an author?
They taught me to love reading and to love books. I cannot remember a time when we didn't go to the library, when they didn't read to me. Like some of my earliest memories are of books that I loved, like picture books. My favorite series when I was little was Curious George. I still have a bunch of Curious George books. But going to the library was a weekly thing. I had a library card from a very young age, like that. I still have it where I printed my name on the card. Um, and my mom is the one who really introduced mysteries to me. She gave me my first Nancy Drew book,
So you
and
did
then
Nancy Drew?
yeah, and then later on, she was really into Mary Higgins Clark and Phyllis Whitney, Velda Johnston, and I used to read her books too.
Wow, wow. Did you do Trixie Belden? I was remembering.
No,
No, no, they,
I
but
was it was this Nancy Drew, and then there Carolyn, or well, who we thought was Carolyn Keene had this other series too with, I think they were sisters or twins.
Bobbsey
They-
twins.
no, no,
No?
I don't remember the name of it now. They didn't have as many of those books, but I read those too.
So you started with Nancy Drew and got your first taste of mysteries from there. Okay.
Hmm.
All right. So where in the world would you live and why?
If money were no object, I would live in Honolulu. When I was writing Ghosts of Waikiki, I spent a lot of time on Zillow trying to find apartments and places for the characters to live.
Mhm.
And there's this new condominium slash penthouse apartment building that's in Kaka'ako. It's kind of an up and coming neighborhood in Honolulu, and it's beautiful. So I took a virtual tour on the developer's website, and so if I had all the money in the world, I would live in Mark's apartment.
Yeah, we were talking about Mark's lovely apartment. Yeah,
Yeah,
Mark is a character in the novel. He has a fabulous condo with a remarkable view.
yeah.
And you'll just have to read the book to find out more about it. Okay, so what would we be surprised to learn about you?
You'd probably be surprised to learn that I was a huge Sha Na fan, and actually, I still am. Anytime I hear their music, I get very happy and I sing along to it.
Oh,
I love Sha Na. I watched that show religiously when I was a kid, and Bowser was my first crush. My mom took me to see Sha concert at Madison Square Garden when I was like 4 years old.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So yeah. Oh yeah. I love Shauna. Now take out the papers and the
Yeah,
trash, or you don't get no spending cash. If you don't scrub that kitchen floor, you ain't gonna rock and roll no more. Yakety yak.
don't talk
What?
back.
That's it. That's okay. So Shauna. You're right. That does surprise me. So, what book is on your nightstand?
Well, I have a big pile in my office, but let's see. Right now, I'm still reading Honolulu Noir, which is an anthology of noir crime stories set in Honolulu. And then I'm also reading Alex Kenna, Burn This Night.
Fantastic. That's it's always curious to find out what authors are reading. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, who are your literary heroes?
My literary heroes are Yoshiko Chida. She was a Japanese American author. She wrote a lot of what I think we would call like middle grade or YA books now. And they were a lot about the Japanese American experience before World War II and during and after World War II. My dad introduced me to her books. She was a friend of the Morita's family. And, she was one of the very first authors to write about the Japanese American incarceration during World War II, back when they weren't teaching that in schools. So I really admired her. And I actually got to meet her when I was like 12 or 13 years old. I was in her apartment and she was the first real author I knew. So I thought that was really thrilling for me.
Would you spell her name? Someone's asking who the Japanese author was again.
Her name is Yoshiko Uchida. So it's Yoshiko. And her last name is Uchida, Uchida. Her books are still in print. They use them in schools now. She was from the Berkeley area. So her family and my father's family were in the same camps together
Yeah.
during the war. Mhm.
See, and these are the shoulders that we stand on
Right.
because when it wasn't in the history books,
Right.
the only way people got to find out about what happened was through the eyes of authors who were
Right.
writing and telling stories about what took place.
Right.
So,
And it's
yeah.
interesting that it was fiction.
Hmm.
That we use fiction to talk about things that are real.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned Amy Tan.
Amy Tan. She's just I just admire her writing so much. She's such a beautiful writer, and she writes about such painful things, but in a really beautiful, uplifting way. She's always been one of my favorite writers.
That's Joy Luck Club, right?
Joy Luck Club, Kitchen God's Wife. I think Kitchen
Yeah.
God's Wife is my favorite, actually.
I really like Joy Luck Club,
Yeah.
but we both agree she's a fabulous writer.
Yeah. Hmm.
And Naomi.
Naomi Hirahara. Yeah. Because she was another pioneer. She was writing mystery stories with Japanese and Asian American characters, and you didn't see that very much. And this was, many, many years ago.
Yeah. It is um about time,
Hmm.
that people who underserved communities and these underserved voices were given a place in the sun to be seen and to be heard by all of us.
Right.
Because as important as it is for it, as important as I feel it is for a Black child to read about Black kids and to see people who look and feel and talk and like them, it is every bit as important for people who are not people of
Yes.
color to
Yeah.
understand what the experience is
Right.
and how it differs from them.
Right, exactly. And I was talking a little bit at an awards ceremony last weekend for the Japanese American Citizens League, and I was talking about our organization Jankenpo Gakko, which is a summer camp for Japanese American kids to learn about their heritage. And more and more we're seeing kids who aren't Japanese American who want to be part of this group because they want to learn more about what we do and who we are. And we are different. There are a lot of differences among the various cultures, but I think in finding out about those differences, we also find our similarities, and there's that shared humanity. And I think that that's really important. And that's why it's really important to have diverse voices, because you think you don't relate to them, but there's probably a way that you do.
Absolutely. You think you have nothing in common.
Hmm.
And while it is true, you aren't exactly alike,
Right.
but you are, at the end of the day, we are alike in more ways than we are different,
Right.
but you need to experience that, the differences, so that you can go, oh, well, yeah, I understand that. I never knew that, but I
Right.
understand this part of it. So yeah, it is so very important. It really is. So that's why books like yours are so valuable and they're so necessary. So, okay. Now, I asked you when you knew you were a writer, and you said you've wanted to be a writer since you were a kid, for as long as you can remember. Yeah, got that. But when was the first time you called yourself a writer?
So I think you'd be very surprised to find out that I really didn't start calling myself a writer until after this whole thing started. It was after I had had an agent and I was revising my book still, so I didn't have an actual book deal yet. And, you know, um, I think before, when people asked me what I did, I would say I was a journalist, or I used to be a newspaper reporter. Now I'm a stay-at-home mom, or I'm a freelancer, that sort of thing. And then one day, my husband and I went to a wedding for one of his coworkers. And we were sitting at a table, and one of the because my husband's a principal at an elementary school, so one of the teachers was asking me what I did, and so I that for the first time I said I'm a writer. And they were asking me about it, and it was good. And then I think the next time I was in a Zumba class and somebody asked me what I did, and I said I'm a writer. So it took me a little while to get used to that, but really that was only maybe a couple years ago.
Okay. So now you can own it.
Now I own it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that that's really important,
Yeah.
to get
I
to
do
that
too.
point where you can say, yes, this is what I am, and this is what I do. And yeah, darn it,
Hmm.
I am.
Yeah.
Okay. So what is in your writer's toolbox that you must have to write?
I need a keyboard. I can write in a lot of different places. I don't, I don't need a lot of things necessarily, but I can't handwrite stuff. For whatever reason, well, for one thing, I can't read my handwriting anymore. I was actually at the post office mailing something, and the guy at the counter was like, "What does that say?" And I couldn't read it, so I had to rewrite it. Yeah, so I'm not one of those people that can handwrite their book or even notes. Sometimes I handwrite notes to myself, but then later on I'm not sure what I said. So I need a keyboard of some kind.
So the
Like I have an
keyboard,
iPad that has a little keyboard. I have a laptop. If I'm desperate, I can tap things out on my phone,
but it's slower.
but it's slower. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I'm not as good at my kids with my thumbs. You know how they send texts and things like that. Yeah.
Well, I see a copy of The Ghost of Waikīkī behind you. So
Mhm.
would it be possible for you to read a little from The Ghost of Waikīkī to give these people a taste of it if they haven't had the chance to read it?
Sure. I picked something kind of from chapter 7, just because we were talking a little bit about the food part. So this is from chapter 7. Hawaii never changes, or so I thought. I could close my eyes and picture the drive into downtown Honolulu, the ocean on my left and Coco Head behind me. There was the bus stop on Kalanianole Highway, a few blocks from my junior high, the old drive-in movie theater with the haunted bathroom, and the rattan furniture store with the white wicker sofa that never seemed to sell. It stayed that way for years until I had left home, until someone finally bought the sofa and the store. Then the music shop where all the kids on Oahu went for instrument rentals, sheet music, and ukulele strings fell victim to cheaper online retailers and shuttered its doors after nearly 70 years. The corner candy store was next to go, taking it taking with it the salty, sweet, mouth-puckering preserved plums we had bought by the bagful. I headed to the one place I knew was still there. Turning onto 12th Avenue, I quickly found an off-street spot in the rear lot for stores fronting Waikīkī. The smell of grilled meat and spices hit me the moment I opened my car door and spurred me across black asphalt, where a white Toyota pulled in barely missed me. The man behind the wheel put up a hand in apology. I hurried by and strode into the beloved mom-and-pop restaurant through its back door. From the mint green Naugahyde booths to the faux marble formica, kimchi too hadn't changed in all the years my family had been eating there. Even the beady-eyed stuffed mongoose still bared its teeth from behind its plexiglass display. Soy, garlic, gochujang, chili paste, and charcoal blended into a heady fragrance, triggering a rush of warm, comforting memories. I breathed in happily. It was starting to feel like I'd come home. I was too hungry for takeout and chose to dine alone at a corner booth. I ordered and started reading the articles I'd printed at the library. As I read, I nibbled from several small plates of kimchi, cabbage, daikon, cucumbers, spinach, and bean sprouts, pickled and fermented in a variety of savory, sweet, or spicy brines.
Wow. Yeah, I was telling people, if you're not hungry when you pick up the book, you will be hungry afterwards. And there's so many things. I have no idea what they are, but it just sounded really, really good. So yeah, and it's just a delicious book. And I really encourage you all, if you haven't had a chance to pick it up, to please do so. So okay, thank you. So I in your interview, I'm going to go. Oh, and if any of you guys have questions as we're chatting away, feel free to go ahead and put them in the chat or put them in the questions so that we can, yeah, there's some questions coming up. Okay. So I'm going to go a little further and then we'll take some of the questions that have come in. Okay, so in your interview on chicks on the case, and I hope I did this right. I tried to put in the link. There we go. In case you want to see the whole interview. In your interview on Chicks on the Case, you said, my family lived in Honolulu back in the 80s, and those roughly 5 years we were there had a big impact on my life. We visit every few years or so, and we happened to be on Oahu for Thanksgiving 2019. My husband and I were crossing
All
Mona,
Moana.
what she said, Boulevard on Waikīkī, when I looked up and noticed clothes drying on a line strung across one of the balconies. I'd assumed the building was just another hotel, but potted plants, mismatched patio furnishings, and decorative touches made it clear tourists weren't staying there. I started wondering what it was like to live in Waikīkī. Then it hit me. I nudged my husband and pointed at the building. I think Maya lives there, I told him. The idea stuck. I think the reason the other ideas didn't quite work is because I really wanted to write about Hawaii. Okay, so it sounds like Maya was already in your head. What
Yeah.
she was, a reporter, you shared in that same interview, but her outlook on life, her long distance relationship with friends and family, and her curiosity, where did she, the character, come from? Is she based on someone you know? Is she like you? How is she different from you? Basically, for those of us who are still learning the craft, how did you put flesh on her bones?
I think she's just a combination of a lot of my friends, and she's also quite a lot like me. She's a lot more daring than I am. There's a lot of things that she does that I would never do. Um, like for instance, I think a good example is I would have given up the freelance writing a long time ago and gotten a state job. You know what I mean? Like I probably would not have persevered as long as she did. Um, yeah, and I think it's just she came out of a desire to see characters that were more diverse, and so I used the first person point of view because there were a lot of things that people like her, people like me would think, but we would never say out loud. And so, there's a lot of those little like little nuances, those little thoughts, and those little things that kind of lend to voice, come from that perspective. You know, over the years, you meet a lot of other people, a lot of other writers, a lot of other journalists, and we all have certain points of view. And I think I soaked a lot of that in and put them into Maya.
And I, as you were talking, you probably would have gotten a state job before she did, but you're Jennifer, a mother with two kids, and she's single. I
Yeah,
mean, there's a lot. I think we're braver
true.
when other people aren't dependent upon
Yeah.
us, you know.
I, I,
So
I think I probably would have gotten a state job though, even if I
anyway,
didn't have kids. Yeah, yeah.
okay. So let's see. Are there any questions that I'm missing in the chat, Rick? Can you pull some up? I know Rick wanted to know your, yeah, go on.
Yeah. That favorite bakery was my question. Okay, let's see.
I figured.
When I'm in Hawaii, I feel so relaxed. Did you write parts of the book in Hawaii, Jennifer? If so, how did you overcome the blissful ambience in order to work on the writing?
I didn't write part of it. I was revising when I was in Hawaii, maybe 2 years ago. We were on vacation there after the pandemic. It was our first vacation back after that, and I was revising, and there were actually a couple of things from that trip that I ended up adding into the book. I was surprised by how emotional I felt going back after it only been maybe 3 or 4 years. But after the pandemic and after everything, and having written a book, and all of that, I brought tears to my eyes to see the islands through the airplane window, and I added that into the book, and I think it still made it in there. I don't think it got edited out.
No, it did. It did. It was there.
There's a question. Filled malasadas or the original plain. What is your favorite treat from the cracked seed store?
Okay, so the malasadas, that's a tough call. It kind of depends on my mood. You can never go wrong with the original, which is just so malasadas are a Portuguese donut, and it's like a ball, and then it's just it's coated with sugar. For some reason, it tastes better than American donuts. I prefer them for whatever reason. But in Hawaii, they also sometimes have filled ones, like with guava cream or haupia coconut cream. And I do love those too.
Oops,
So you have to get a dozen with like the variety.
Could you spell the name of that Japanese author again? The woman I didn't know how to spell it.
Okay, let me just see if I can put it in the chat. It's Yoshiko Chida. There, it's in the chat.
Okay,
There you
perfect.
go.
Next question was the difference between Nisei in Hawaii and Nisei on the mainland.
Issei in Hawaii and
Yeah.
Issei on the mainland.
Yeah. I guess mainland US or mainland.
Yeah. Um, it's interesting. Where did I hear this story recently? I don't know if it's just Issei, or just Asians and Japanese in general. In Hawaii, because you're part of the majority, you are a little bit more relaxed. You don't worry about how others are perceiving you as much because you're part of the main group of people. You don't worry about, can people pronounce my name, or if when you're smiling for school pictures, if someone's going to tell you to open your eyes more, things like that. Or that, you can eat whatever you want and no one's going to think it's gross that you're eating raw fish or seaweed or, something that smells funky. And that's not true on the mainland. So a lot of mainland Asians tend to be much more reserved. And so I heard this story recently that like the Hawaiian Asians thought that mainland Asians were stuck up because they were so serious. And then when they realized what it was like for them, particularly during the war, they started to kind of understand a little bit. So I do think that there is a difference between Asians in Hawaii and Asians on the mainland.
Okay. Writer question. Are you a plotter or a pantser?
I'm a plotter. Very, very much so. I probably overplot. And that's not to say that means my stories are perfectly plotted out with, no terrible red herrings, or you know what I mean. It's not perfectly structured or anything like that. It's, for me, it's just simply a roadmap. It's like a comfort blanket, a security blanket. It's so that I know, okay, if nothing else, I can do this and it's going to be okay. It's a way to know that, oh yeah, there is a whole book there. And then I have the freedom to write and be creative. But if I don't have that, I just feel really lost. But I don't have an outline like Roman numeral 1, A, B, C, or anything like that. It's much more unstructured. It's more like me just sort of writing on a blank sheet saying, well, this is chapter 1, and I think this is what happens in this scene, and maybe he does this, or maybe he does that, or, and then I kind of decide which one I like better, and I go with that.
When you started writing the book, did you plan it to be a standalone, or you think it's a possible start of a series?
Oh, I think I've always wanted it to be a series because I love mystery series. My favorite books have been series, like Deborah Crombie, Ellie Griffiths. I love series. So I do hope it's going to be a series. But I wrote
Are
it
you
like
working?
standalone.
Are you working on a book too?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But there's no deal. So,
How far are you into it?
about halfway.
Oh, cool.
Mhm.
What was the most outlandish thing, i.e., road trip, that you put your family through as research for the book?
I don't think so. There are a couple of things that we did. So when we were in Hawaii, I did make my husband drive through Kaka'ako so that I could take pictures of Mark's penthouse condominium, the building and everything, because it was actually still partially under construction. so, so we did that, and yeah, he just thought that was kind of funny because he's like, we're never going to live there. And I go, I know, but it's so nice.
Well, of course you will when you're a New York Times
Yeah,
bestseller,
yeah,
author. Yeah.
yeah.
Never say
And
never.
and then I did look at condo hotels too. Once I discovered those existed, I'm
Yeah.
like, how much are those? And you basically buy a hotel room and rent them out. It's kind of silly, crazy.
Is that a new thing?
It's a
Condo
thing,
hotel?
yeah. There it is, yeah,
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Wow.
yeah.
Wow. Well,
Um, the
June,
other the other things I did, like I took the opportunity to learn how to shoot so that I would know what it felt like to hold a gun and shoot a gun. Um, Carl Henwood did that for
yeah,
writers, and that was really really helpful.
yeah.
But I didn't take my family.
June asks, your marketing is lively and engaging. Did you plan it yourself or you have assistants?
I'm sorry, my what?
Your marketing plan.
I'm so flattered that you think I have a marketing plan. I just, take pictures and post them. That's my marketing plan. Although I've taken a lot of like webinars through Grand Canyon Writers and other sync chapters about how to have a marketing plan. I'm not sure I've executed it.
well, Jen, you must be doing something right. I mean, I asked you, how are you with a book that just came out in November, already in Libby? And you said, well, they bought my book. And I know writers who have fought forever to get the libraries to buy their book. And here you are with a debut novel, with not only your book already in the system, but being picked up so that I can read it at home on Libby. I mean, you're doing something right. I mean, you must be. So I don't think it's just like you say, you don't want to call it luck because that negates all the work that you've put into it.
Yeah.
So whatever you're doing with your marketing plan is working.
So I don't know. That might just be Crooked Lane. I don't know that yeah. I mean, I'll take credit for it, sure.
Well, on the
You're welcome.
subject of food we were just a moment ago, I just put in that recipe for you on chat.
Now, which one did you put in? Did you put in the butter mochi or did you put in the
The furikake.
food fukaki?
Yeah.
Jennifer wanted to talk about butter mochi because that features prominently in the book, but she also talks. So why don't you talk about the butter mochi first? What's the deal with butter mochi, Jennifer?
So, it's a mashup of traditional Japanese mochi and this Filipino dessert called bibingka, which is like a steamed rice cake. And mochi is rice, like a certain kind of rice. It's not your regular long grain rice. It's a short, sweet grain rice that gets pounded into paste and then steamed and sweetened with sugar. And but butter mochi is a Hawaii recipe because it came out of a time when a lot of immigrants came to Hawaii and to work in the sugarcane fields, and they would sit around during their breaks and share their foods. And so there's a lot of like Hawaii food that's not strictly Hawaiian, it's not strictly Japanese or strictly Korean. It's kind of this fusion, but not a trendy fusion. It came out of like an immigrant potluck sort of thing. And butter mochi is one of them. It's a dessert that I remember eating when we lived in Hawaii, and then when we moved back to the mainland, it wasn't very common here at the time. And I had it again years later at the Obonodori Festival at the Buddhist church, because by then people go to Hawaii so much, they learned about it and started making it and bringing it here. It's kind of like spam musubi. And so I started making it, and it's just a really popular. A lot of people like it. I can take it to a party where there are no other Asian Americans, and people love it. So it's not, it's kind of a universal thing. But so here I put in the chat a link to a recipe that I use all the time for butter mochi. It's a base recipe.
Now, the food, as I've mentioned already in this book, is amazing. But I found myself really fascinated with the fukaki fries. And evidently, fukaki is just a seasoning that can be used on potatoes, it can be used on vegetables, it can be used on fish or chicken. And so I gave Rick a recipe that he could just throw up in the chat so you can see it. And fukaki is a savory Japanese spice blend made with dried seaweed, nori, toasted sesame seeds, salt, and spices, typically sprinkled over Japanese rice, veggies, ramen, fish, or avocado toast. And so the recipe is in the chat to make with the seasonings, or you can just go to Amazon and buy a bottle of it. Which I found.
Which is what I do. I don't buy it at Amazon. I buy it at Odo's Marketplace.
Yeah. Did you say another recipe I should put in the chat?
No. Jennifer gave you the link to the mochi recipe, but the one that you are ready to throw up there, I didn't see the futakaki recipe in the chat, Rick. But it's not there.
Yeah.
But there's a recipe and a link for making fukaki fries, and basically it's the fries. You can even use frozen French fries and sprinkle them with the seasoning and vinegar, I think it called. So but it just sounded interesting because I mean I have never met a fry I didn't like. So I thought, well, let's get international with it. So, you talked about the donut, the Portuguese donut, which is called a
Malasada.
you said I asked you in this book, the food was almost as much of a character as the characters themselves. So I asked you which came first, and you were talking about a family restaurant.
Oh, well, I think I don't think I realized quite how much food played into this book as because it's something that's very natural to me. So I didn't realize it stood out that much, to be honest. At first, I am coming to realize that. Um, so it was just sort of something that we do. My family, we talk about. Well, that's just something like when we see each other, we ask, "Have you eaten yet?" That's like the first thing we ask. I lived away from my grandparents for most of my life, and so when we talked to them on the weekends, first thing they would ask me was, "What'd you have for dinner?" So that part of it came natural for me. The one thing that I do remember though was when I was writing the book, I knew I had to have a scene at the Kimchi 2 restaurant because that was our favorite restaurant in Hawaii. We used to go there on Fridays. And so I didn't know what the scene was going to be, but I knew there was going to be something there.
I'm having trouble with that. I think the comment is too long on that.
Okay, that's okay. That's all right.
The important
You
question is, where is the best coconut cake on Oahu, from the North Shore?
Why don't you tell us?
Ted's. Never mind.
So Ted's I don't think they existed when we lived there. I used to really like Liliha Bakery.
Let's see if we have any other. I don't see any other questions. Does anyone?
I was just gonna put in the
Kind of.
Furik
Oh, let's see. Myra wants to know, does Maya speak to you?
Yeah, she does. It is a little weird how much you get into your characters. I sort of describe it as how there are actors who they like the method acting, and they really get into their characters, and so they don't break their character so that they can really perfect their craft, I guess. Sometimes it feels like that, and I think it's so weird because I'm thinking about her all the time when I'm deep into writing. I'm thinking about her. I'm thinking about the other characters and what they would do all the time.
Okay, I wanted to ask because when you were president of the chapter, you already had found an agent. Can you tell us a little bit about that process?
Hmm. Yes. Yeah, I'm trying to remember the timing of it all. Yeah, so I found my agent Lori Galvin through a Twitter pitch contest or event that they had. This was back when Twitter pitch events were still a big thing. You would There were certain days where you would tweet a pitch for your book, and then if an agent gave it a heart, then that was like their permission to go ahead and query them, and that meant that your query would go to the top of their pile instead of the bottom of their slush pile. And so I tried it. There were a few different ones, and I was sort of practicing for PitMad, which was the really huge one. And so the first one I did was called Hive Pitch, and Lori was the only agent that liked my pitch. And so I waited maybe a month or so because there was another pitch contest coming up. So I did that one, and then I got more agent likes from that one. And so then I queried them. And at that point, I kind of didn't really think anything would come of it. I just was sort of practicing, I guess, seeing how my query letter would work. But Lori pretty much immediately asked for a full manuscript. And then it was a couple weeks later when she emailed me and wanted to set up a Zoom meeting. So yeah, it was pretty cool. The funny thing was, at one point, so I had two offers from agents, and so I was trying to decide between the two, and I was doing my research, and Lori had done a Zoom webinar thing with Paula Meunier actually, and I think Michelle Richter for the Orange County Sisters in Crime chapter, and it had already passed, but they sent me a link to the YouTube, um, a link to their YouTube channel so I could watch it. And one of the questions they asked her was, what British mystery TV shows do you like, or something like that. And I remember thinking, okay, if she says Unforgotten, then she's my agent. And she said it. And it wasn't like a huge, popular show. It was a good show, but it wasn't super popular at the time. So I was like, okay, I think she's my agent.
Yeah.
How cool. How very, very cool. I had a question that I just want to go back to about the food. You can see where my head is, but it's a holiday. This is when we think about food. Is there any place to get some of these delicacies that you talk about in the book locally? I mean, I can't really afford a trip to Hawaii right now. So,
Yeah.
is there any place we can go to get some of these?
Yeah, there is a chain called Eleanor Hawaiian Barbecue, and they have a lot of like the Korean kind of Hawaiian barbecue. Like they have kula pork, they have the Korean ribs and the chicken. They usually have spam musubi too. My favorite though is Ono Hawaiian.
Mm.
It's over in the Crocker. Oh, I can't remember the name of this shopping center, but it's Crocker. It's like off of Sutterville Road here in the Land Park.
Crocker Village.
Area. Yeah, Crocker
Crocker.
Village. Yes,
That's my put there,
that
Cracker
Ono
Village.
Hawaiian Delicious or something like that. Yeah, they're really good. Malasadas are a little trickier. They really just taste better in Hawaii.
Well, there, I just have to tell my husband that's where we have to go because Jennifer's talking about these incredible donuts that we have to try. So there we go. You have some really nice blurbs on the back of your book. Um, how do you meet and find people who will blurb your book for you?
um, I think it's through organizations like Sisters in Crime and your local chapters. You get involved, you meet people, and you just be active and participate, and that's how you just will naturally meet people who will want to help you out. You work with them, you do them favors, they do you favors. You go to a lot of conferences, and just be yourself. I think. Although I will say, not all. I did not get all the blurbs myself. My agent and the publisher also help you with that sort of thing too.
That's nice to know.
Yeah.
So that you're not doing it all on you.
No, no.
That is really nice to know. And okay, so this is kind of my last question, which is, what about this process of getting published surprised you the most?
I think the learning how the publishing industry kind of works has been the thing that surprised me the most. You think you understand why they do things, and then you learn that they don't do it that way. There's just a lot of weird things in the publishing industry that have surprised me. Yeah.
So most things about the publishing, this whole process has surprised you.
Like the business part of it is
Yeah,
surprising. Yeah.
like surprising.
Yeah.
And there was a
Dover has a great question here.
yeah, yeah.
Which was the most scary for you or for Maya? The B-52 cockroach flying at you or the huge banana spider shooting out of the faucet when you got in the tub to take a bath? Is
The
that
B-52.
autobiographical?
What was it?
The B-52. So B-52s are nicknames for the flying cockroaches in Hawaii. They're huge.
And they fly? They really fly?
They really fly. Yeah.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but they're bigger, so they're slower and easier to kill. Yeah.
That's nice to know.
Yeah.
So, Rick's going to toss up the information in the chat about how you can contact Jennifer for more information, how you can see her social media contacts, how you can get the book if you haven't already gotten it. It's Christmas, so you can ask Santa if he'd be so kind as to get it for you. And I am just, um, I can't say enough about this book. I enjoyed it so thoroughly.
Well, thank
Um,
you.
it really was a lot of fun to read, Jennifer. I'm so really proud that you're a member of our chapter, and you did such a great job with it. And I'm just really glad that we had a chance to sit down and chat with you and find out a little bit more about the story behind the story, which I think is always, as a reader, you know, I want to know how you got there, especially if I enjoyed the book. Um, I feel like, especially because this is your first novel, you don't feel so far ahead of me as somebody who's got 10 novels under their belt to
Mhm.
kind of look ahead and say, okay, you're there, help me to understand how you got there. And so the craft questions are just really really nice, and it's great to hear about your journey and the path that you were on. And thank you for coming and spending time to tell us a little bit about you.
Oh no, well, thank you so much for this opportunity. I had a really wonderful time writing this book, and it's been such a great journey meeting everybody through Capital Crimes. I've learned so much through Capital Crimes just by from the actual classes and webinars and things, but also just watching how everybody else does things here. It's been very, very helpful for me.
Well, it helps to have a tribe. I think it takes a
Yeah.
village. It
Yes.
really really does. And
They just keep you going and you just soak in their knowledge. Yeah.
so to from all of the tribe to you, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And from me to the tribe, it's been my pleasure to host Meet the Author for you. And I hope that you have time to write some and read some and do all the things that give you joy and bring you hope as this year winds down. And so I just want to say happy holidays to everybody. And I am going to turn it over to Claire.
Well, thank you, Penny, for yet another hour of fabulous questions. Nobody does it better. Um, and I want to thank Jennifer, but especially tonight, to give a huge, I don't know, a big jolly hug to Penny and her elf hat. And no, you sparkle even without the necklace. Uh, she is gonna hand over the interview mic. This is her last Meet the Author. Although I know that we'll be able to rope her back in if we need her on a substitute basis. But so, Penny, thank you
My
for
pleasure.
your years of warmth and love. We
Oh,
all very, very much
you are
appreciate you.
so very welcome. I've truly enjoyed it. It has been a joy.
So thank you, Jennifer.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Penny. And thank you, everyone, for the wonderful questions and the Hawaii memories. That was one of my favorite parts of this chat. in particular, everybody sharing their own, memories of being in Hawaii. So have a wonderful rest of your evening. And thank you so, so much for being with us. And if we don't see you on Saturday, you will be with us in spirit. And we will definitely see everybody in January. So take care. Happy, happy holidays. And be safe and well.
Good night,
Good night.
everyone. Thank you so much.
Down to 3. Good job.
Thanks.
Thank
That was a
you.
lot of
Very well.
fun.
Thank you so much, guys.
Oh, it was really, really fun.
Yeah.
Is there a way to, oh, I got it. Never mind. I found it. There it is. Okay. I wanted to save the chat because I'd like to go back and read it afterwards because I can't really read it while we're
I know.
while we're talking.
I've got a Word file that I punch everything into, so it's there. So
Cool beans. Okay. All
All
righty.
right. Good night, everybody. Thank
Good
night.
you.
night.
Good night.
Thank you.
See you Saturday.
Saturday.
See
Oh
you
yeah, I'll call you
Saturday.
about picking you up then.
Oh, yeah.